Hi, hi everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Procure for Health Insight 7 webinar. So thank you very much for joining us today. So my name is Maria Bernabé. I work as project manager at TIC Biomed, one of the partners of the Procure for Health consortium. So today we want to address a new topic on our series of insights. So it is very focused on the key aspect that you have to consider when evaluating offers in your PCP tender. So let me provide you with some housekeeping rules for this session. So if you have any question during the webinar on the presentation, so please feel free to send them to us through the Q&A box that you will find at the bottom of the screen. So it is available for you to type the main question and concern that you may have, and we will address them at the end of the presentation during the Q&A session. So now, as you can see, your microphone is muted during the session to avoid any background noise. So then, in case you need and you have any question during the Q&A session, we will give you the floor. We will open your microphone. You will have the opportunity to share your thoughts. So this webinar is being recorded, and we will make it publicly available on our Procure for Health communication channels, on the community platform, project webpage, and our YouTube channel. So it will be available into 3 days after this session. And we are also on X, former Twitter, and LinkedIn, so you can tag us by using the usernames that you can see in the slide. So feel free to pause wherever you want. So this is our agenda for today's session. So first of all, we will have our project coordinator, Carlos, introducing the Procure for Health community. And then we'll move to the main topic. So we will dive into the insight number 7, developed by Empirica. So we will have Klaus introducing the insight. Then we will devote some time to wrap up the session. We have a Q&A session to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts and concerns. So before starting, we wanted to inform you that the insight is already available on our Procure for Health community platform. So you can access and read and download it. So feel free to do it. I will send to you all the link to our community platform through the chat. So if you have already, so if you are already part of our community. So if you register to the community, you will have access through the link. And if not, you just have to register to sign up. So it's a simple process. So it will be good for you to be part of them. So to get some benefit as these insights that are that are only on the platform available. So now, I want to give the floor to my colleague Carlos, the Procure for Health Project Coordinator. So, Carlos, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Maria. Good morning, everybody. Let me start by sharing my screen. Okay, now it is informal. As I was saying, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. My name is Carlos Larrañeta. I am the director of the Technical Office for Public Procurement of Innovation and the Andalusian Public Health System, and we also coordinate the Procure for Health community. So in my brief presentation today, I will introduce who are we, who is the Procure for Health community, and some basic principles of procurement of innovation, at least how we see it. and what are the main activities we are doing in order to dynamize the use of this very, very interesting instrument, which is procurement of innovation in the healthcare sector, especially for the healthcare sector. Okay, this is how we started the Procure4Health community almost 3 years ago. It is a group of procurers of the health and care sectors, procurers of technologies, let's say, and a relevant number of the most experienced supporting organizations in the field of procurement of innovation in the healthcare sector. What is our main goal, or why did we gather in order to or around this community? As we are all well aware, health services are in need of continuous improvement. This has and must be done from many different phases, but we are the ones, or not the ones, but we work in the phase of dynamizing or improving the efficiency of the adoption of new technologies, the incorporation of new technologies that allow us to improve the health services we provide. So this is how we started, as I said, 3 years ago. This is who we are right now. We have more than 100 procurers from 25 different countries of Europe on board. We have also a very relevant number of supporting organizations on board. These supporting organizations range from consultancy services to universities, research centers, labs, and so on. And we also engage with the potential suppliers of those technological solutions that we seek. So, I mean, we're confident to say that nowadays, if you want to talk about procurement of innovation in the healthcare sectors, Procure4Health is the, or at least one of the most relevant places to. But why do we do this? What is the relevance of procurement of innovations? Just to understand a little bit of the figures and the potential that this instrument has. Again, I want to emphasize this. It's not about using the instrument per se. It's about being an instrument with a lot of potentials to allow us to be more efficient when adopting new technologies. Nowadays, there are more than 350,000 public contracting powers in Europe. The business that these contracting powers handle represents almost 20% of the gross domestic powers in Europe. And it is a, let's say, business that dynamizes the innovation ecosystem a lot, because more than 30% of this procurement are done to SMEs, which is a very relevant part of the industrial ecosystem in Europe. Just to understand a bit what these figures will mean, if we seek this long ambitious of using 3% of public resources to dynamize innovation, we have this objective in Europe since some years now. This will mean that we are talking about the mobilization for procurement of innovation of around 60,000 million euros per year. Just to frame a bit what this figure means, comparing with the funds we have to dynamize research, development, and innovation, the Horizon Europe program. For the whole Horizon Europe program, we have a budget of 70,000 million euros, and that's for a 5-year period. Moreover, nowadays we have a new endorsement of the relevance that the public procurement can have to dynamize innovation in Europe, since it's addressed as one of the main instruments, or the instruments that has to be very, very important in the recent Draghi report about the future competitiveness of Europe. So, having this said about this potential of the instruments, what is it, very briefly, what is it that we're talking when we talk about procurement of innovations? We talk about procuring research and development services. Why? Because we try to solve and to guide the solutions for challenges we face that are not yet available or widely available in the market. What does it mean in practical terms? That what we say or what we try to do is share our challenges with the innovation ecosystem, with the market, tell them if you are able to develop a solution or to shape a solution to our concrete needs, we will procure it, but we go one step further and tell them if we like the solution we propose, we will also procure the final stages of its development. It's the basic principle behind procurement of innovation. Obviously, this has many benefits. I mean, the logic behind this is that I'm not gonna delve into what fostering innovation, how good it is for the economy, the society, and so on. That's obvious. We're dynamizing an innovative industry around us, but we are also using that resources, public resources that we have to dynamize that innovation ecosystem to improve public services. And what public service make more sense than any other is the health services. So there is a clear benefit at the end for the citizens. That should be our final objective. But why Procure4Health community? Why engaging into these activities? What do we have to do? I mean, as I said, it is a tool that has a lot of potential to have a relevant impact in health services. The tool and the instrument, as I just briefly overview, is not complex conceptually, but it's a tool that is complex in terms of coordination and engagement. Why? Because we're talking about projects that are ambitious, that are midterm, let's say 3 to 5 years at least. And during the process of procuring of innovation, we need to engage with many actors that do not naturally engage on their daily activities. For instance, we're talking about engaging with our end user, clinicians and patients at some point to define what are the challenges. We're talking about engaging with procurement and legal services in order to prepare the tenders. We're talking about engaging with the innovation ecosystem, the potential suppliers of the solutions we're seeking. So it needs systematization and a strategy and a systematization of all these activities in order to be successful and efficient, which is again the final objective. And how do we do this in Procure4Health? Well, Procure4Health has a few main objectives, few main goals. One is to raise awareness about the potential of the instrument, raise awareness about policy makers and top management of our organizations. It is also to build up the capacity of the health services to be able to use this instrument. It is about creating networks that allow us to share the benefits and risks of these projects. And it is also about shaping let's say, the framework, the playground in which we want to perform our activities. What are the conditions that we would like to have in order to be able to be efficient? So being practical, just quick overview on the main activities we are doing. We have a lot of capacity building activities and materials that we're preparing, like this insight that we're presenting today. We have over around 60 trainings. These are partnerships among procurers in Europe, tackling concrete aspects of procurement of innovation jointly. We also have our discussion forums, which are our working groups. This is the list. We have 6 working groups, 4 of them devoted to, let's say, concrete technical topics in health that are of relevance, in need of the development and adoption of technology, and also to leverage the new technological opportunities that we have. Those are digital health, integrated care, sustainability, personalized and precision medicine. But we also talk about overarching themes that should be taken into consideration throughout the whole process, which is talking about impactful innovation, meaning that what do we have to do from the very beginning in order to really be successful when adopting the solutions we develop. And obviously, when talking about new technologies, about innovations, value should be taken into consideration much more than any other criteria. So how do we handle that is also a big part of the discussion we are conducting. These working groups has already produced several common unmet needs of innovation, several challenges that are common to many health organizations in Europe. But we have also produced an action plan that is already available for everyone, which is meant to be a very practical guide for procurers that want to incorporate this procurement of innovation practice, and it is again has a very practical approach with concrete ideas on how to work with this instrument. Just briefly before I leave the floor to Klaus to dive into how to evaluate the offers we receive when we launch a tender for a PCP, pre-commercial procurement project. Quick overview of how do we structure the procurement of innovation process. You can see it in this, but again, as I said at the beginning of my presentation, if you think a bit about it, it's common sense. The procurement of innovation process should have to start by assessing and defining and prioritizing what are the challenges of our systems that should and must be addressed by incorporating new technologies, opportunities. Then we have to share these challenges with the market through conduct markets analysis, launch open market consultations. The purpose of these activities is to first engage with the potential solution and then find the feasibility of developing a solution that can and must allow us to build up tender process that are at the same time feasible, attractive to the market, but are able to get us the best value for the money that we put into the table to develop these solutions. And obviously then is defining this tender and evaluating the offers and launching the projects. This is what we're going to be talking today, what are the main principles and consideration we should take into account when we evaluate the offers we receive when we have launched a tender for a procurement of innovation process, in this case for a pre-commercial procurement project. So this is all from my side as an introduction. I will now leave the floor to Klaus. Right, Maria?
Yeah, thank you very much, Paulo, for introduction our Procure4Health community. So I hope that participants have now a more clear picture of our project and our community. So now let's move to the topic of the webinar, to the Insight 7. So Klaus, you can start.
Okay. Thank you very much, and also Carlos for introducing some concepts of the PCP, which I will consider in this webinar as well. So this webinar is about key aspects to consider when evaluating offers in your PCP tender. And I know that might sound like exciting as watching paint dry, but so thanks for joining anyway. But I hope it will be more like watching paint dry, but on a very nice painting, so you have a few takeaways. That's at least what I hope for the end. Now, just a brief overview over today's agenda. which will be a short introduction to PCPs for those who are not used to PCPs or just want to get a quick overview of what it is, what makes PCP tender evaluation special, and then we dive into the main aspect, and this is the key aspects and even more the lessons learned of 8 years doing PCPs, rounding it up with some closing remarks and a small slide of who the guys presenting and the other guys in Procure4Health at Empirica actually are. And in the case we have any questions, we try to answer them at the very end. So let's start with the introduction to PCP. So as Carlos already said, it's sort of a special way for public procurers to buy research and development services to develop and in the end test, or maybe even buy after the PCP innovative solutions that are not yet commercially available. It's usually done in a step-by-step approach. So you have 4 phases, 3 are with suppliers. Phase 0 is the preparatory phase. And this is where much of the work happens that I'm going to talk about on the next slide. So to make it a bit more, hopefully a bit simpler for you to understand what the PCP is in a nutshell, this is the classic approach. So you have this phase 0, open market consultation, call for tender, which all starts with identifying an unmet need that you have at your as procuring entity. And just to have the correct definition by the European Commission, PCP is a demand-side innovation policy instrument to address market failures in research and development for unmet public needs. So how does it work? You identify your need, you launch a prior information notice, draw up your requirements, and then do an open market consultation to interact with potential suppliers or other procurers that have the same need to see if some product may be available or parts of the product may be available, and those information can also influence your tender later on. So it's a kind of co-creation with the supply side, even when writing up your tender documents. Then we have phase 1, which is the solution design or concept design at feasibility studies. That phase largely happens on paper. You have the second phase, prototype development, where initial prototypes and later on functional prototypes are developed, and later on the phase 3, ready-made pilot systems are implemented, developed, and tested. So as you see, the number of suppliers reduces from phase to phase. So they compete, and ideally, only the best solutions move forward. So how do you make sure that the best solutions move forward? You evaluate the tenders, and that is what it's all about. And fun fact in PCPs, it's 3 times the fun, because you do not only evaluate the tenders for phase 1, but you also do so for phase 2 and 3. And cherry on top, for phase 1, you're evaluating something that does not exist yet. So it can be pretty difficult to write up the requirements. But let's start with key aspects, and I think they are pretty obvious. So the main aspect is your solution or the solution proposed must align with the goals of your PCP. It should be technically feasible. You should check if the innovation is, if it's truly innovative, and if the people behind the ideas know what they're doing. So do they have the required expertise, and do they promise value for money? And question if they only promise it or if they really have value for money in their tenders. Just some points on the first items: relevance, feasibility, and innovation. And this is regarding complexity, and there will be some more slides on that topic. So obviously, you don't want a tool that can open cans, tune guitars, whatever, if what you truly need is a scalpel. Over-engineering. So you don't need a robot to butter your toast when a knife works just fine, although it might be nice to have a robot to butter your toast, but it's not within the goal of your PCP. The tender should be grounded in reality, and this is, well, this happens actually quite a bit. So there is a great plan on paper, but as soon as you dive deeper into it, the plan just collapses because it's not really connected to the real world. And lastly, innovation. Again, innovation is there to simplify and deliver results, and it's not there just innovation for the sake of innovation. That should not be the case in a PCP, because in the end you won't get the results you basically want. The team behind the tender is extremely important. So you want suppliers that are more than just big talkers, and so they need to have a track record, skills, the right expertise to deliver. Then, of course, there might be big talkers that actually deliver in the end. I will admit that, but yeah, make sure that the expertise is there. Regarding money, and this is a topic that sort of haunts me since the beginning of the PCPs that we did. So it's not about finding the lowest price, because you want to invest in a solution that delivers long-term benefits within your budget. But especially in PCP, the focus should be on sustainability, life cycle costs, etc., and not on initial savings. And as promised, some lessons learned that came up over the last 8 years, some more important than others. Let's just start with the requirements. This is something that you do before you write up the tender documents. And as soon as you start writing up the requirements, keep the evaluation in the back of your head when drafting the tender documents. So it makes not only life easier for the suppliers to write their tenders, but also for your evaluation committee to evaluate them. From a methodological point of view, we have 3 types of requirements. We have type 1, the binary requirements, which are very easy to evaluate, like the solution must be compatible with devices running on Android and or iOS operating systems. It's just something you can tick. And points-wise, it's either full points or no points at all. You have the type 2 requirements that are quantitative or measurable requirements. So they require more detail, but can still be objectively verified by comparing with predefined criteria. Of course, in a PCP, without a tangible product or prototype, the ability to set and evaluate quantitative benchmarks becomes a bit challenging. So the emphasis for the phase 1 may more be on project plans, proposed methodologies, simulation results, sort of to approximate measurable outcomes. But in the end, in the later phases, things become more measurable. The last type is the qualitative requirements, and they are very subjective. So the assessments are based on quality, user experience, innovative aspects. So they heavily rely on the evaluator's judgment. So this, again, highlights the need for well-structured evaluation committees, something we will talk about later. So certain type 2 requirements can become type 2 requirements at later stages when you can evaluate a prototype. Let's say user friendliness will be evaluated based on the number of steps required to assess key functions and user feedback collected during testing. This is something you obviously cannot do in phase 1, but can do at the end of phase 2 when the first prototypes are ready and users actually have tested their solution. So to sum it up, think of your tender documents as your evaluation team's manual. If the instructions are unclear or inconsistent, the evaluation will at some point reflect that. So consider using a timeline or flow diagram even that connects evaluation criteria to phases and highlights the gradual shift from a conceptual to measurable evaluations. And there will be a slide on that later on as well. So let's dive into detailed criteria and when they stifle creativity. So generally, you should concentrate on what the suppliers should solve, so your problem, and you shouldn't concentrate or sort of dictate how they should solve the problem. So just imagine you have a PCP for an AI-powered diagnostic tool in healthcare, and your criteria is the AI algorithm must use neural networks trained on at least 50,000 digital chest X-ray images, and the tool must process images within 2 seconds using a GPU. Now, why may that be limiting? Obviously, You mandate AI with neural networks, so you exclude other potentially superior techniques from the very start. And as I said, suppliers are restricted on how they solve your problem. How could such a criteria look like? An alternative requirement could be that the diagnostic tool must demonstrate the ability to identify anomalies in chest X-ray images with a minimum accuracy of 90%, which of course you can evaluate later on in phase 2, or basically in phase 2. In full phase 1, it's hardly possible. That would be a digital or a binary requirement. And second one, suppliers must estimate processing time per image and outline hardware requirements, ensuring compatibility with standard hospital IT infrastructure. So if you change those criteria from the beginning to these, those should be broad enough for conceptual evaluation in phase 1 and can then later be refined for prototype development. Again, there might be detailed criteria that do matter, that don't, well, they do stifle creativity in a way, but they're just there and you cannot negotiate them. This would be if you take a PCP for a patient data platform, so you think GDPR, which also means compliance. So example criteria might be the platform must store data in encrypted formats using AES 256 encryption, and some others that you can read on this slide. And why do they matter? Well, obviously, they ensure compliance with legal and regulatory requirements. Suppliers understand what is negotiable and what not. So also evaluators have a clear basis for assessment. And the most important point, I think, is that if you use vague requirements like the platform must be secure, I mean, this could lead to non-compliant solutions slipping through, and you obviously don't want that to happen. Another thing that happens is, well, that we will have to ask ourselves, does every single requirement get a weight? Or does it rather make sense to group requirements and assign weights per group? And yeah, when do you assign individual requirements? Usually, obviously, when your PCP has critical requirements that must be met with precision, or when a detailed evaluation is necessary for compliance reasons, like in the slide before, if you have GDPR mandating some things, or you're procuring, or your procurement department mandates some things, you just need to have them as a requirement. If you need to differentiate between the importance of specific features, so let's say if you have a telemedicine platform, you can prioritize features such as data encryption has a high weight, multi-language support, moderate weight because it's connected with accessibility, and video call quality has a lower weight since it's not the primary focus of the platform. So when do you group requirements? Well, usually if you have requirements that logically belong together. So for instance, if you have a smart hospital system, you can group requirements into categories such as patient monitoring, facility management, staff communication, and then you assign a single weight to a category, not to a single requirement. So it's easier to evaluate, or maybe not easier, but at least faster to evaluate, while it's still ensuring a sort of holistic coverage. On the next slide, and this is connected to what I said earlier, is you want to change the weight throughout the phases. Of course, you can have the same requirements and only adjust the weighting. You can add and remove requirements for each phase. You can do combinations. So this is really up to what your procurement procedures usually foresee. But as I said before, consider using a timeline that connects evaluation criteria to phases and sort of highlights the gradual shift from more conceptual measures to really things that can be measured. So in the beginning, you want to have higher weights on innovation, originality, the feasibility, and then later on, if you implement it, the weights shift more to performance, reliability, compliance, and user involvement. Speaking of evaluation committees, this is really a big thing. So point A, have your evaluation committee ready way before the tender deadline. It usually takes up quite a bit of time, and don't underestimate really the time it needs. You want to have a diverse committee to have, a balance of context, expertise, objectivity, and there are different possibilities how to form an evaluation committee. It could be only an internal committee, an external, purely external committee, a hybrid committee, or an internal committee with sort of external expertise brought in. Now, the advantages of an internal committee is obviously the familiarity with procurement objectives and the lower cost associated with this as staff is already on payroll. However, usually staff working at a procuring site has work to do and may have limited capacity due to other duties. So it will be an additional burden for them, and this might influence the evaluation. And of course, this is something the external evaluation committee does not have. It's just, you can sort of cherry pick whatever expertise you want, and you can expect a more objective and unbiased perspective. However, the costs are higher, and if you have someone who's not experienced with PCPs, that could also be difficult because the learning curve is there. Conflict of interest rising during evaluation is another topic that happened not only once. So there may be more than, basically there may be two types of conflict of interest. One is you have a conflict due to personal or professional bonds within your evaluation committee and one tenderer. So it could also be personal relationships with someone from your evaluation committee and the tenderer. And key is to discover those potential conflicts of interest at the very beginning. Even if they may only be perceived as compromising, it could influence the impartiality during the evaluation process. The second type of conflict could be arising from the tenderer, including staff from your organization. And just an example, if you as a procurer, you're a big French university, and one tenderer has a professor from the same university, but she's working at the Faculty of Economics. You're in the health faculty. So is that a conflict of interest? Well, I'm not here to judge. This is where you typically have lawyers come in and advise you. It could be regarded as a potential conflict of interest, even if it is not from your point of view. And the earlier you identify the conflict of interest, the earlier you can take care of what it entails. And if you do it late, it could lead to severe delays in your process, which leads to, well, more work for everyone. And it could lead to, as it happens for us, the testing that should take place way before Christmas was right in Christmas time. The evaluation for the next phase of tenders that should be before Easter was right in Easter time. So it really can mess up your timeline. So take care of your evaluation committee and potential conflicts of interest. What we usually do in our PCPs is we have combined internal evaluation committee made up from the procuring partners in our projects, and we have an expert board. So we buy in external expertise from the fees we require. So when there is little expertise at the procurer, we have our experts, we look for experts, we hire them usually regarding ethics or technology, medicine, whatever it is. And those then advise the evaluation committee, but they have no voting rights. So it's still in the end the procurer who decides what is going to be bought and not someone external. If your evaluation committee is scoring the tenders, you should tell them to provide a rationale alongside the scores, because scores alone tell tenderers where they stand, but not why. And as the evaluation summary, at least for the successful bidders, is there to ameliorate the tender for the next phase, it really helps them if your feedback is well crafted. So I have here on the slide one example, which is said, oh, user interface is no good. A nicer comment would be the user interface lacks intuitive design, making navigation challenging, and critical functions like search and settings are buried in multiple submenus. So you give them indications where they should be better in the next phase. And this feedback will help the tenders to improve their proposals and make not only their life easier, but also your life easier in subsequent phases. And even for the unsuccessful tenders, this is at least my experience, they value a good feedback, so they know what they can do better for the next PCP tender if they are going to apply ever again. The next thing is transparency and documentation. Communication during a tender phase is key, and documentation is your key ring. So starting with a clear explanation of the evaluation process in the tender documents, and include, if possible, what constitutes a satisfactory response to a requirement. That is usually then for the later phases. Communicate any changes of the tender documents, and you can do this by including a changelog in the tender documents and publishing the changelog on the website. So tenders can easily spot if it's just a minor change that happened and they don't need to go through everything again, or if it's indeed something more important, something more grave. What we did and what has proven to be quite efficient is we ask for an email address before someone can download the tender. And in one project, we used an email address that says just, if you don't want to receive any more information from us, just use don't bother me at project.name. And it really worked. So if people, download a tender twice because there have been some changes, or if they really just want to have a look and don't want any more information, you at least can see who used this address, don't bother me, and you can filter them out, and you have a better overview of how much interest there is in a tender. Slide 2 on documentation and transparency is provide clear contact information for queries throughout the process. And this means from phase 2 to phase 3. So do not accept questions through any other channel, because it's at some point, it really gets difficult because you need to make sure that information that reaches one tenderer reaches all tenderers. This becomes practically impossible if anyone can ask anyone in your team, and you have to be very attentive. So it's easier to just accept questions through one channel, an email address, whatever it is, that is monitored, and you can make sure that all information that is going to one tenderer is given to all possible all tenderers, even if it's on the website in an FAQ document, if it's in a simple Excel file somewhere that you make available. Just make sure you document it. And well, the sentence on this slide, document everything thoroughly. Yeah, it sounds like a chore. It usually is. And obviously you do it for compliance, but also it is for preserving knowledge. And this is what happened quite a few times. And it may happen to you as well. So you are on a team and your team members change. And a lot of knowledge usually goes with them. So if you didn't document everything, or close to everything, it might be difficult for the new team members, especially if the complete team changed, to get a grasp on what has been discussed, what is important, what is not important, and it really can slow down the process of your PCP. So you're not only doing it for compliance, you're doing it for your colleagues as well. The next slides are going a bit into what we got from procurers and what to pay attention to, referring to the key aspects. And this is balancing innovation with feasibility, because nothing says innovation like stringing together enough buzzwords to make your head spin. So what we got is blockchain for simple data storage. I mean, for appointment management, IoT integration everywhere. I'd like to say that the S in IoT stands for security. So it's usually of little use. Tenderers suppose AI for basic calculations like staff working hours, or quantum algorithms for optimizing clinical decision support, when standard statistical or optimization models just work as fine and are proven. My favorite thing was the synergistic hyperdistributed AI-driven edge cloud, which of course is if your PCP is about real-time analytics for autonomous vehicles, that might be an aspect to consider, but normally it is not. So it might be innovative in the sense of it is new, but it does not solve a problem or provide additional benefit. So what to look out for? Well, unclear value. If the technology doesn't clearly solve a specific problem, then don't score it high. If it's excessively complex, don't accept it. If you see a buzzword overload, so the language is heavy on hype, but light on practicality, don't score it high. If there is weak demonstration of feasibility, likewise. So to counter this, the evaluation committee should include experts who can cut through the noise and spot when a proposal basically is all sizzle and no steak. The next thing, and this is a bit complicated, at least for me, a bit more complicated because it really touches grounds where I'm not that confident at, and this is evaluating IPR, which makes it even more complicated, is that at the beginning of your PCP, you don't have a product ready available yet. But what you can do beforehand is make sure that suppliers understand and confirm the ideas of the PCP, which is that they retain ownership of the developed IPR, but offer you as a procurer some special rights for internal use, testing, pilot development, sub-licensing, etc. So make sure that the proposed licensing terms are clear, fair, and sufficient for your needs. Later on in the phases, ensure that the suppliers adequately document third-party IPR dependencies and ensure that these dependencies will not hinder the project's progress or scalability. At the end, or towards the end, maybe phase 2 and phase 3, the commercialization strategy becomes more important. So check if it aligns with market demands and offers long-term benefits, and also for you as a procurer, take into account a potential discount that you get because you are a procuring entity in the PCP. So just some tips for evaluation. Use an IPR framework template. So you basically standardize the evaluation, which makes it easier for the evaluation committee and also for you when you write up your requirements or your tender, that you know what you expect. Consider scalability and reusability. So is it easier, or how easy will it be, and does it allow for wider adoption or reuse by public procurers in similar contexts? Risk mitigation, and this is advice we got during a review meeting, basically. Explore options like escrow agreements for critical components. So basically, it's a legal arrangement where a neutral third party holds critical materials like source code or documentation under predefined conditions, but ensuring that you as a procurer can access them if the supplier at some point fails to meet obligations. So if they are bankrupt or just leave the project for whatever reason. And evaluate whether the proposed IPR supports the solution sustainability and continued impact even beyond the PCP phases, so long-term value. Speaking about value and cost effectiveness, because cheap today often means expensive tomorrow. So typical items you want to evaluate regarding cost effectiveness are total cost of ownership, TCO, performance versus cost. So does it really improve efficiency or reduce waste or some way? What is the impact on resources? Will it save time, labor, other resources for you as a procurer? And scalability costs. So is it possible to implement the solution more widely or reuse without significant additional investment within you as a procuring entity or even outside of the project? And this basically shifts the focus from lowest cost to highest value. And this is what value-based procurement is about. And I won't dive into that deeper because there will be a next insight number 8, which is largely dealing with value-based procurement. And if you're interested in that, just make sure to join the next insight as well. So to sum up the closing remarks, so craft clear, measurable, and innovation-friendly requirements to simplify the evaluation process and encourage high-quality tenders. Adjust evaluation criteria and their weightings as the PCP progresses to account for phase-specific objectives and insights gained. A strong evaluation committee, as I said, is non-negotiable. So assemble a team early, ensure no conflicts of interest, and prepare them to balance technical expertise with impartiality. It's easier said than done. Encourage solutions that balance creativity with feasibility. Try to avoid over-engineering or innovation for its own sake. Keep detailed records of evaluations and lessons learned to streamline future processes and also to help maintain transparency. And the last one, as I said, focus on life cycle cost effectiveness, patient outcomes, and environmental sustainability rather than upfront costs to ensure long-term value. So if you made it through here, this was the last slide regarding the inputs. So it's just a bit of who we are. So in this team at Procure4Health at Empirica, we are these 3 guys and girls. It's Sonja, Lutz, and me. And we're working here at Empirica in Bonn. And Empirica is a private research company with a 35-year proven track record in research and consultancy in digital health and care, civic engagement, energy efficiency, smart cities, and the like. And we help shaping policies and strategies and, of course, do the basic work of project management. Our role in PCPs, just real quick, is so we try to help procurers to concentrate on what they're good at, that is procuring. And we do basically everything that we can to help them get to their goal on point and without too much hassle. So that's all from me. I see I just took too much time. Sorry for that. Sorry, Maria. And
no worries.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Klaus, for such an insightful presentation. So I hope that participants can understand what we are trying to explain them today regarding the evaluation in the PCP tenders. So now we have not received any question yet, so the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. So if anybody has any doubt, any thought, or you want to share anything, feel free to do it. And if not, so since we will send to all of you the follow-up email with the presentation, recording, and link to the insight. So then you can contact us if you have any question, because now I know that we have provide you with a lot of information regarding this topic, because it's a comprehensive guideline that Empirica has prepared regarding the insight number 7. So perhaps you need more time to think about it and to have a look at the insight, and in case you have any doubts in any part, you can contact us and an Empirica team, so they can solve the doubts you may have. So we are here to support you in everything you need. So let me share through the chat. So I just send the link to the insight. So as I mentioned at the very beginning, the insight is available on our Procure4Health community platform. So you can access the insight and download it. So feel free to do it. So we will be happy to know that you are reading this guideline that we have prepared within the Procure4Health project. So I don't know, Klaus, if you want to add something else or
no, just
point out something.
I would be happy if we receive questions.
Any question?
If not, I wouldn't be overly disappointed, but I'm here to answer all questions you have. And if you have any more questions later on, just send us an email, or we'll take care of it. And thank you for attending.
So they need now to process all the information because there are a lot of details regarding this topic, so several aspects to bear in mind when evaluating PCP tenders within the organization. So I think that they can have time ahead to read and process the information through the insight, and then come back to us if they need any support. Carlos, do you want to add anything else? So I forgot to mention that if people wants to know more about the community as well, so just contact us. So in our website, you can find the contact form and the email address that is available for everybody that wants to know more about the project, the community, and our activities. But I assume that you have now a clear picture of the community, because Carlos has presented it very well at the beginning, and the activities that we have conducted at the upcoming one. So feel free to contact us in the event you need any further details. Carlos, do you want to add something else or point out?
Not really. Just that this was this presentation. This was a great presentation. That is a clear example of what we are trying to do in Procure4Health, and what is our main objectives is that being very practical in terms of how to conduct and how to use this instrument. This was a great example of that. That all this is a lot of information, as we said. This is an instrument that needs for us, we need to wrap our minds around it, that everything is available on our platform, webpage, that we are always open for newcomers to join and to engage with that in any kind of conversations to dive into these topics. So that's it from my side. And once again, thank you, Klaus, for this presentation.
Okay, so thank you guys for your presentations, and thank you everyone for joining us today. You will receive the follow-up email with all the information regarding the webinar and the insight. So have a nice day. See you in the next one.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.